Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about diagramming sentences and parts of speech. Homeschoolers, when they're teaching, some people have one way of teaching and other people have another way of teaching, and it depends on the student. So one person that's homeschooling might take one of their students and teach them, they might write out a sentence and break it up and teach them all the parts of speech at once, and then go over several sentences, teaching them all the parts of speech at once. And then there's other people that have another approach and they want to start out with teaching them the nouns and then the verbs, and like a Schoolhouse Rock, how they have the different songs for the different parts of speech. So it just depends on who you are and what your approach is. So I just wanted to create a video with some websites. There's so many websites that cover parts of speech and diagramming sentences, but I tried to pick some that didn't have a lot of ads, because when there's a lot of ads, it makes my voice break up and crackle while I'm talking and trying to do the video because of the ads beginning and ending. So I'm going to start with this one, and this is at alamo.edu. And you can see the website right there, and you can go look for it on their website to find the link, or you can try to type it in, but I will show you what it says. And this is a PDF, and it talks about visualizing the basic parts of diagramming sentence. And it says every sentence must contain two parts, a subject and a verb. All the other words in a sentence merely describe, limit, or modify the subject or the verb of the sentence. A technique known as diagramming is used to visualize the pattern of a sentence. Diagramming involves discovering and displaying the skeleton of a sentence. It says the basic patterns, subjects and verbs. The standard pattern in English is for the subject or noun of the sentence to be listed first, followed by the verb or action word of the sentence. The basic pattern for diagramming a sentence involves writing the subject on a horizontal line, followed by the verb with a vertical line separating them. So you can see subject and verb. And then it gives you an example, and it shows Maria cooked, as Maria is the subject and cooked is the verb. Maria is cooking. Maria is the subject, is cooking is the verb, and is called a linking verb. So as we shall soon see, all the other words in a sentence revolve around the two essential parts of every sentence, the subject and the verb. So then it talks about diagramming adjectives and adverbs. The words which modify or describe the subject and verb of the sentence are diagrammed by placing them on slanted lines beneath the words which they modify. Thus, adjectives are placed beneath the subject and adverbs are placed beneath the verb according to the following pattern. And you could just write a sentence out for your students if you're homeschooling, and then write above them which part of speech they are, and then go and look it up so they can see what part of speech it is. But here it shows you the subject or the noun with the adjective below it. Adjective and subject. You can see the J-E-C-T in subject, and you can see the J-E-C-T in adjective, because an adjective usually describes a subject. And in verb, you can see adverb, because that adds to the verb. And that's just a helpful way of remembering it. Subject is also called the noun, but the adjective adds to the subject, and it has the J-E-C-T, adject. Verb, adverb. The three sentences below would be diagrammed as on the right, with the adjectives being placed beneath the subject noun and the adverbs beneath the verbs which they modify. And when you're doing creative writing, you want to have better sentences so that you add adjectives and verbs so it's more colorful. Then when you go to write short stories and longer stories and essays and things like that, you want to add adjectives and adverbs into it because it sounds more interesting. And here you have the boy ran. So you can see the is an adjective. It's also called an article. but there's the boy ran fast. So fast is an adverb which adds to the verb ran. The is an adjective. It adds to the subject boy. So that will help you. The boy ran fast. Then you have the tall boy ran fast. So you can see the and tall are adjectives that add to the subject boy. And there's fast, that is an adverb that adds to the verb ran. And you can read more about this on this right here. And I will scroll down. I may not read it all, but I might read some more. So it gives you a practice set to diagram the following sentences, looking carefully for the subject and verb in each sentence and any adjectives or adverbs that might modify them. So you could have your students do this, and then you could check to see if they got it right. And this talks about diagramming the direct and indirect objects of the verb. The direct object of a sentence is the noun, which names whatever receives the action of the verb. The direct object is placed on the primarily horizontal line to the right of the verb and separated from the verb by a vertical line which does not descend below the line according to the following pattern. So you can see that. And then it gives you an example. Maria cooked rice. What did Maria cook? She cooked rice. The direct object is rice. Maria is the subject, cooked is the verb, and rice is the direct object. And then you can add adjectives and adverbs to it to make it more colorful and a better sentence. The subject of the sentence, it says, identifies who did something, Maria. The verb identifies what action. So that was that she cooked, and the direct object identifies what was cooked, and it was rice. The indirect object names the person or thing to whom or for whom something is done. An indirect object is diagrammed by placing it on a new horizontal line beneath the verb and connecting it to the verb by a slanting vertical line in the following fashion. I used to love diagramming sentences. It was like one of my favorite parts of English. And some people love it and some people hate it. So this one, it says Maria gave Joe the rice, would be diagrammed below. Maria is the subject, gave is the verb, rice is the direct object, Joe is the indirect object, and then the describes the rice because it's talking about the rice. So there is more on that. And then it wants you to practice. And it gives you some sentences to practice with. So you could, I guess I should pause that so that you could see that. And if you want to utilize that, you can. And then it talks about diagramming prepositional phrases. So, and it talks about what a prepositional phrase is. So you can read more on that, and I will pause that so you can see it. So it says Helga threw the ball to Boris, which would be diagrammed as follows. And you can see that, and you can read that, because I don't want to read the whole thing to you, but I will pause it so that you can read it, because I think you can read this on your own. I think I read enough to you. And then I'm going to go to some more links for you. And this talks about the parts of speech. So you can see this is at research.ewu.edu, and you might want to just go to that website, ending it with edu, to see all the different things that they have. And this is the Eastern Washington University. So this is, and they have a Facebook link, so you can go on there, you can find them on Facebook. They have a Writer Center's Home, and you can go find that. But this is their grammar, punctuation, and sentences. So it talks about the parts of speech, and it has an overview. It says sometimes it's helpful to break down the different parts of speech or elements of a sentence in order to simplify the sentence. An article is placed before a noun or an adjective. A, an, and the are articles. Remember I said the is an article. And you can click here for a more in-depth look at articles. And there's also Schoolhouse Rock. You can find it on YouTube playlists. So you can go listen to those songs. Even young students listen to that and they memorize it because they start singing along to the song and then they remember it. A noun is a person, place, or thing, and it gives you examples of nouns. It talks about nouns within a sentence. It talks about the subject, the direct object, and the indirect object, which are different nouns within the sentences, so that you have that, so that you understand that there's a subject, a direct object, and an indirect object. And it talks about the direct object is the receiver of the action or the verb. It talks about the indirect object for whom the action or verb is performed, and you can read more on that to your students. Pronouns. A pronoun replaces a noun and is sometimes called a personal pronoun. I, you, we, him, he, she, it, them. Those are all pronouns. And it has a link where you can click the link so you can learn more about pronouns and the differences between pronouns within the subjective, the subjective, the objective, and the possessive cases. So you can go read that. An adjective describes a noun: red, round, translucent. If you're doing a sentence and you have, oh, the old lady walked down the street, you know, it's simple. But if you say the little old lady walked down the long and winding road slowly, you know, it makes it more interesting because you add more to the sentence. So there's the adjective, it talks about that, you know. And then it talks about a verb, what a verb is. And an adverb. An adverb often ends with ly. And we're going to see what an adverb also is on another one. And an adjective, because to me this website doesn't give enough information about the adjective and the adverb. So I want you to have more information. So we're going to look at another website. But maybe it has it in other places on this website, and I do love this website. It talks about a conjunction, which if you listen to Schoolhouse Rock, you know what a conjunction is. So, and there's a preposition, and you want to know what a preposition is, and a prepositional phrase. So you can see a preposition is in, at, on, behind, under. So then you probably will understand what a prepositional phrase is. But you can look that up. Interjection, oh, ah. So you can see that as well. And this is an interesting website, and I thought it was a good one, and I wanted to share it with you if you're homeschooling and you need these types of websites. This one is at Butte College. So it talks about the 8 parts of speech. And then you can go there. And they have different links to talk about the sentence fragments, run-on sentences, and things like that that are important. And it tells you what a noun is. A noun is a person, place, or thing. And it talks about nouns are often used with an article, the, a, and but not always. Proper nouns always start with a capital letter. Common nouns do not. Nouns can be singular or plural, so you can go over these with your students. It also talks about the different functions, and it gives you an example, and it says a noun can be a subject, a direct object, an indirect object, a subject complement, or object of a preposition. And then it shows you the young girl brought me a very long letter from the teacher, and then she quickly disappeared. Oh my! And it could have just been a simple sentence. The girl brought a letter to the teacher, or the girl brought a letter from the teacher. So you see, this is a much better sentence because it has more colorful words. And then it talks about pronouns and what a pronoun is. So you can see that and you can go over it and you can read it and you can pause the video. And this, it talks about verbs. And then it talks about the adjective. And see, I like this because it talks about an adjective is a word used to modify or describe a noun or a pronoun. Adjective, subject, adject, subject, which is a noun or a pronoun. Sometimes isn't just the subject, sometimes it's, but that helps you to remember that. It says it usually answers the question, which one, what kind, or how many. That's what was missing on the other website. I think that You should have your students create a poster that says adjective on it and then list the questions underneath it. Which one, what kind, how many, and hang it on the wall so that they helps them remember what an adjective is. And then you remind them every day or twice a week for a month or something so that they remember an adjective answers the question, which one, what kind, or how many. Because to me, this is important. This is one of the ways that I remembered it best as a child. When I was going to school, I remembered which one, what kind, or how many, and that helped me to remember that an adjective answers that question. So, and then the adverb. An adverb modifies a verb or an adjective or another adverb, but never a noun. It usually answers the questions when, where, how, why, under what conditions, or to what degrees. Adverbs often end with ly, so you can have them make a poster about adverbs and put when, where, how, why, under what conditions, or to what degree, and they end with an ly. See, and I think that when we were students, usually it just said when, where, and how, and the ly. But you can have them create a poster so that they can understand. And you can see the young girl brought me a very long letter from the teacher, and then she quickly disappeared. Oh my. And then it talks about preposition. Preposition is a word placed before a noun or pronoun to form a phrase modifying another word in the sentence. So then you can see what a preposition is. And you can look up examples of prepositions on the internet and get a chart. Have your students write a paper and create a list of prepositions. And then have them write a list of prepositional phrases. So that might help them. Conjunctions. If you've watched Schoolhouse Rock, you know what a conjunction is. Interjection. That's another one in the Schoolhouse Rock. And you can find those videos for free, usually on YouTube in playlists, because people have playlists with Schoolhouse Rock. And I love Schoolhouse Rock. But you can see what a conjunction is. And, but, or, while, because. A conjunction joins words, phrases, or clauses and indicates the relationships between the elements joined. So it talks about what those are. And you can have them create a list of conjunctions. And then it talks about interjections. So, and then there's another website that I also loved, and it's English Language Center at UVIC. So the website's in the upper left-hand corner. It's the University of Victoria. It says continuingstudies.uvic.ca, and you can see where this is if you want to type it in, or you can go look for it under Continuing Studies. And this is grammar topics, parts of speech, introduction. So it talks about the different parts of speech. And it's another one that I absolutely love. So it says a noun is a naming word. It names a person, place, thing, idea, living creature, quality, or action. Examples: cowboy, theater, box, thought, tree, kindness, arrival. A verb is a word which describes an action, doing something, or state of being. Examples: walk, talk, think, believe. And then it tells you about adjectives. It talks about adverbs. And here it says an adverb may also tell you when or where something happened. It talks about pronouns, a conjunction, preposition. That's something else. You might want to have them make a list of prepositions so you know what a prepositional phrase is. Interjections and articles. And then it talks about the parts of speech. And then it has exercises, so you can continue with the exercises. So it's good to be able to find exercises to do this on the internet. And this one is at Walden University, academicguides.walden.edu. So you can go to that website to see all the different things, and you can just stop with edu to see what they have, or you can go to the parts of speech and find that. So you can see this is under grammar, main parts of speech. And they have a lot of things on this website that would be useful for you to help you with teaching English. And this talks about nouns. And it says the name of something like a person, an animal, a place, a thing, or a concept. Nouns are typically used as subjects, objects of prepositions, and modifiers of other nouns. So then it talks about the noun, and it talks about the subject and the object. So you can look this up and learn more about that. And there's the verb, there's the adjective. And with one of my children, I actually sat down and wrote down sentences. And then I took those sentences and I broke them up to explain. And then I just wrote above it, this is what this is, this is what this is. And that way, because they were fast learners, and I thought it would be better, instead of trying to teach them one at a time, if I showed them on different sentences that each part of a sentence had a different name and like a different job, so they could see that. And then I went on to teach them about the parts of speech. This is the adverb, and it talks about the adverb tells how, where, when, why, etc. So I don't know why they put etc., but okay. So then it gives them examples, and it shows that it ends with an ly, recently, enthusiastically, and then there's some that don't. And it talks about, then describes and modifies the entire sentence. And then it says, see this link on transitions for more examples of conjunctive adverbs, adverbs that join one idea to another to improve. And so it improves the sentence, it improves the writing. And then it talks about pronouns and determiner. And determiner, I don't even remember being taught what a determiner was. Isn't that interesting? So now they have the determiner, preposition. Maybe they had it then and I just don't remember it. Preposition. So it talks about prepositions. And I'm sure they have a chart somewhere of prepositions. So you can see the prepositions here. In the middle of, next to, in. Says they're usually single words but can be up to 4 words, as far as, in addition to, as a result of. So that will help them understand what a preposition is. And a prepositional phrase. Conjunctions. It talks about auxiliary verbs. So that's something, helping verbs. They're used to build up complete verbs. And it talks about verb tenses. There's a link to read that. It says be, have, and do. So it talks about progressive, passive, perfect, and negative verb tenses. It talks about different auxiliary verbs. So you can read more on that if you like. And there are some examples for you to utilize. So I thought this would be a simpler way of showing the parts of speech, to get a few websites that you could use if you're working on the parts of speech. Because sometimes you're looking for the parts of speech and you're trying to find a book or workbook that has the parts of speech in it, and it might be hard to find. Maybe you can't, maybe you remember being taught one way and you can't find it. You can't find that perfect book or that perfect workbook, but you can use different websites and find them. So this talks about common endings, common noun endings. Common endings for nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs often have unique word endings called suffixes. So you can look at the suffix to help you to distinguish the word from other parts of speech and help identify the function of the word in the sentence. So this will help you with the common noun endings. So you might can have your students write this down, because when they're writing and making notes, it helps you to remember. It's very important to be able, and then you can have them make posters, hang these posters on the wall so that they can see them, and they're writing them and they're trying to write it neatly, and then they hang it up and they feel that sense of pride when they read it and they look at it, and it helps them to remember what these common adjective endings are or common adverb endings are. So this will help them to be able to learn this. And you want them to be able to absorb this and to get it down. And this talks about the order of adjectives. I love these websites. Then it talks about commas with multiple adjectives. Multiple adjectives make the sentence and the story better. Sometimes they have multiple adjectives. It says the big, round, old, green English leather. So says the large yellow, red, and green oil painting. So these are descriptive words, and you're reading a story, and you're reading it, and you read all these adjectives, and it helps you to be able to picture it in your mind better, so that if you want them to be able to write stories, you want them to use more adjectives and more adverbs to help them to create better sentences and better stories. And you want them to understand what an adjective or an adverb is. And this one talks more about it. So it says teachers generally work for more than 40 hours a week. At the end of the sentence, it says teachers work for more than 40 hours a week generally. So the adverbs can be in different places. It gives you more detailed rules for the positions of the adverbs. And you can see the ly at the end. So that might help you as well. And like I said, there's some other, and this one has a video. I love that. So you can go watch this video. It's on YouTube, but it's also on their page. And then they have more links for learning this. And I love that because you're going to need more. It's good to have more. Sometimes. Sometimes it's not. And then this one is English Grammar Revolution. And it's got the little dashes. English, but it's Grammar Revolution. You can go look it up. I love this website. This website has so much, and it talks about diagramming sentences. So if you want to teach them to diagram sentences, I love this one. And this one is talking about imperative sentences, which gives the commands: walk the dog, open the door, please wipe your feet. That's another thing. If you remember diagramming sentences, you remember you understood, because it's understood that you are the one they're talking to. They're saying walk the dog. They're talking to you. They're asking you to go walk the dog, you to go open the door, you to please wipe your feet. The subject is the implied word you, which is called you understood. So that's another thing. When you go to diagram sentences, you need to understand there's that word you in parentheses that sometimes goes in there. And that's called you understood. And I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. But this Grammar Revolution talks about diagramming sentences. And I also wanted to show you this because I love this website. And it talks about nouns of direct address, or nouns that address the person or thing you are speaking to. They are not subjects of sentences. Bob walked the dog. Tess opened the door. Odin, please wipe your seat. Remember that the subject of all imperative sentences is you. This remains true even when we begin an imperative sentence with a noun of direct address. Bob, you walk the dog. Tess, you open the door. Odin, you please wipe your feet. So this talks more about that, and the you understood, and it asks if it seems strange, and then it explains it more, and I love it. And then they have links where you can click the declarative sentence. So it's excellent. It's just an excellent website. And then here she shows you this picture of diagramming the sentence with you, walk, dog, and the underneath the word dog, because the is describing the word dog. And I think that diagramming sentences is just, to me, it was fun, and it helped me to understand the different parts of speech. So you can try this with your students if you want to use the diagramming sentences, and hopefully they will enjoy it, but maybe they won't. Some students love it, and some students, I remember, absolutely hated it. But you can go to Grammar Revolution and check this website out because it's just an excellent website. And there were other ones. There were other ones that I liked. There was And Wikipedia talked about diagramming sentences. And it had one that was Learn in Color that talked about how to diagram a sentence. So there was guide-to-grammar.org that talked about diagramming sentences as well. WikiHow.com had diagramming sentences. So there was a lot of other websites as well that talked about diagramming sentence. There was one that's German-Latin-English.com, and it had a link for diagramming sentences. So there's some other ones that I did not even use on there. So go check those out and figure out which ones are your favorite. And I hope this website helps somebody. I'm just a small YouTube channel, and I appreciate you watching this video. So thank you so much for watching. Please leave comments. If you find a better website or you know of a better website that can help somebody else that's maybe reading the comments under this video, leave a comment. Leave that website. Leave that link. If you know of a good book for diagramming sentences, leave the link. Leave the name of the book. I appreciate you watching this video. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.